Hi, I'm Robert. Welcome to Things That Don't Matter, which is it seems like a really unfortunate choice of name for this channel, given the first thing that I'm talking about is police brutality. What it is a commentary on the fact that we are all basically sacks of fancy water that have learned to recognize ourselves in a mirror, strapped to the back of an asteroid by math equations, and we're pretty much just making all this up as we go. So, it's no matter how sideways shit is going in the world, just remember it's never wrong to smile. um, and often it's the best thing you can fucking do for the world. Um, this is a very difficult topic to discuss because it's extremely emotionally charged, and one of the ways that pretty much everything has gotten so fucked uh, is we have trashed our ability to communicate. Um, the media has taught us that valid communication involves 15-second sound bites of things that feel good and confirm our values. Um, and that's one of the things that the media is incredible at, is confirming our biases. That's why liberals watch liberal media and conservatives watch conservative media. No media is really trying to bridge a gap. No media is really trying to change anyone's mind. Um, so pretty much the place I'm at with police brutality is um, I started paying attention to the news in around 2012. I was 16 at the time, and since then, on about a weekly basis, I've seen one of my fellow Americans get murdered by a police officer, and pretty much every time no charges were filed against them. Um, the Black Lives Matter movement is coming up on its 7th anniversary, and nothing's changed. Look, man, there's nothing. Hurts to say. Hurts to say. I gotta say it. The Black Lives Matter movement is morally correct. It should absolutely be enough for us to say, "Hey, police, fuck off. Stop shooting unarmed black people. That's it. End of story. We're right. You're wrong." Okay. Um, it hasn't worked. Um, that's just a historical fact. It's been 7 years. It started in 2013. There were the same number of unarmed black men shot in 2019 as there were in 2014. Taking to the streets and chanting Black Lives Matter has not fixed the problem. And the place that I'm at is I don't really give a shit about having a morally superior view. I don't care about having morally superior grounds anymore. Right? Okay. Right. So the Black Lives Matter movement is morally correct. But if it's not working, and perhaps there's another method which takes the middle point between just stop fucking shooting us, which seems like the sane thing to say, and the perhaps insane standpoint of maybe there's a reason that police are shooting unarmed black people. Maybe they're human beings who are scared or something like that, right? That's an insane and seemingly immoral standpoint to take. But I'm going to try and find a middle ground between the two, because if finding a middle ground while seemingly compromises morality will actually save lives, while the moral standpoint hasn't, then as far as I'm concerned, the moral standpoint is paradoxically the one that compromises my moral ground because it works. And I don't give a fuck about feeling right or good. I give a fuck about not seeing my fellow Americans murdered because of the color of their skin. Um, so, um, that's just my little spiel. Like, if you already fucking hate it, cool, I don't, bye. So the first box we can write. So there are 4 boxes we can reach for when shit's just not going right. First one's the soapbox. We can fucking protest, we can give speeches, we can try and change hearts and minds. I want to try and find a way to use this more effectively because it's the most benign solution that we have, right? The thing about the way we've been using this recently, going into the streets, chanting Black Lives Matter, is we can't, it's impossible to get across a point that will change someone else's mind in the 15 seconds or 240 characters that we're used to. It's great for stating a moral standpoint. There isn't anything necessarily wrong with it. It's just not a full, effective means of communication. So, like, oh, fuck. Man, like, again, like, this shit's, fucking scary to say. I give a shit. Okay. So, the killing of George Floyd was incredibly cowardly and incredibly brutal as far as police killings of unarmed black people go. It was a small man fucking crushing an unarmed man's neck for an extended period of time. And that's just not how it normally goes down. Like, this was a very clear-cut case. Like, there's no way that police officer can say that, like, he was afraid for his life. There's no way he can argue anything for defense, right? It was just clear-cut murder. And the thing is that's not the way most police killings of unarmed black men go. I'm not willing to, like, I don't think it's effective to just start from the standpoint of, like, yelling police are racist, hey, fuck you, racist, fuck off. Because if that's the case, then there's no point in trying to communicate at all. If the police are all racist murderers, then the appropriate response is not to protest. It's to form militias and firebomb police departments. And I don't think we're there. So if we want to try and communicate with them, like, I think most of the police shootings of unarmed black people are coming from fear. Fear of the other. And it's happening because when police have to patrol largely black and ethnic minority areas, they're more dangerous. They're more dangerous because black people have not had really any economic opportunity historically. There's been several hundred years of historic economic oppression of black people. Therefore, black neighborhoods are very poor. Therefore, the residents resort to drugs and crime. Therefore, they're dangerous for police to patrol. So, without, like, trying to be racist assholes, the cops are learning, if I go to the place where the black people are, I'm gonna get shot. Therefore, on a subconscious level, they are associating black people with danger. So what we have at these protests is an incredible opportunity to introduce the police to some black people. You know? Like, the protests draw out police. And, like, you know, my suggestion fucking... I can't introduce the police to any black people. I'm white. My suggestion is go up to a cop. If you are an ethnic minority, please try having a conversation with a cop if you haven't before, just like a friendly conversation. And here's the thing about how we have to be conducting these conversations. Think about the last time someone yelled at you and demeaned you and changed your viewpoint at the same time. Doesn't happen. If we meet the police with animosity, we can't change their minds. We can't show them that we are people worth protecting. So we need to meet the police like they're human beings. And here's what we need to ask of them. What we need to ask of them is, like, police are endowed with an incredible amount of power. If they are afraid for their lives or the lives of people around them, they are given unilateral power to use lethal force to stop any perceived threat. So when you have that power, that's the safe way to play it. Like, if you want to stay alive, just neutralize the force, or neutralize the threat. If it wasn't a threat, oh well, right? So what we're asking of them is a great deal of heroism to try and de-escalate anything that they perceive as a threat, to actually think before they shoot. That's an incredibly heroic act. And we need to show them that as human beings, we are worth being heroes for. And the other thing that's a problem is, right, so there were 3 officers around the dude who killed George Floyd. I'm not learning his name, fuck that guy. There were 3 officers around him who didn't stop him. And that has to do with the thin blue line, right? Again, we can't approach police angry about the thin blue line and get through to them. It's not possible. If we yell at them, they won't listen to us. That's natural. Now, think about the thin blue line like this. The police have a dangerous job where they are at times going into situations where they have to rely on the people around them to save their life. And if the thin blue line is a cultural phenomenon where if you rat out a fellow police officer, you might not get your life saved doing one of these raids. So asking a police officer to rat out another police officer or to stop them from committing excessive force, we're asking for not just basic decency, but a group level of the heroism that we deserve. A group level of the heroism that the police deserve to exhibit. I don't think overall that the police are being heroes right now, but we deserve heroes for police, and the police deserve to be heroes. Alright, so that's the first box, the soapbox. The second box is the ballot box. You can reach for the ballot box. Now, ideally there would be a politician who had some fantastic idea about how we were going to solve police violence. Just like a nice plan laid out, but we can't vote anyone out of office right now and replace them with someone else because to get a solution to police violence, no one really seems to have one, right? So that's okay, because what we can do is we can protest to petition for emergency ballot measures. And what these ballot measures need to say is, one, use of excessive force by a police officer will result in assault charges being brought. Two, given the fact that a citizen cannot intervene in police use of excessive force the same way that they can intervene in a fight between two citizens or a citizen mugging another citizen. Citizens can't intervene in police use of force without facing prison or death. Therefore, it is the responsibility of another police officer to stop their fellow officer from using excessive force, and failure to do so will result in assault charges being brought. And again, if we see these laws not being enforced, one of the things that the Black Lives Matter movement has been incredibly effective for is putting enough media pressure on local prosecutors to prosecute police killings of unarmed black men that probably otherwise would not have been prosecuted. So we can, I'm happy to take to the streets as many times as we fucking need to get this shit prosecuted. Third thing we can use is the jury box. The failure of the jury box to consistently prosecute police killings of unarmed black men is the reason that we're in the streets right now. Like, if every time an unarmed black person got killed, the cop went to prison, like, one, it would happen like a lot less, and two, like, okay, well then the system worked. Like, we're in the streets because the system's not working. So, like, again, we can take to the streets as many times as we need to get this prosecuted, but eventually the pressure we put on prosecutors who are overseeing cases where police get shot, or where black men get shot by police, eventually that pressure will make it to where charges are brought more often. Okay. I don't want to put this on the internet with my name and face associated with it, but I'm going to anyway. This is not a suggestion. This is a foreshadowing and some facts. Okay. The fourth box is the ammo box. The fact is, we have about 800,000 police officers in the United States. We have about 450,000 National Guardsmen. We have 1.3 million active deployed military and 8 million reserve. So that comes out to 3.35 million people that the government can use to deploy armed and or lethal force against civilians. On the other side, 100 million Americans own about 400 million guns. So let's say no one who owns a gun arms anyone who doesn't own a gun. Let's just leave that out of the equation. So we got 100 million gun owners. Let's say 6 million of them agree on something and are willing to put their lives on the line for it. Well, that's double the amount of armed forces that America has. Um, so let's say like the other three boxes failed. You know, tried um, we've tried effective communication, right? I don't think we've depleted the soapbox yet. We have to try communicating with police officers as humans. Um, we have to try passing more stringent laws. Uh, and we have to try using media pressure to get them forced consistently. Let's say for some reason all of that fails. Like, the reason we need that to work is if it doesn't work, the only rational thing for us to do is to form militias to defend our citizens. If our government is murdering us, the only rational thing to do is to form militias to protect our citizens. And we can't use anything less than lethal force. Using less than lethal force against a police officer gets you arrested or killed. There's no provision in the law that allows us to use anything less than lethal force to resist a police officer. So, like, again, don't do this. And, like, government, don't put me on a watch list. And state of California, don't red flag me, because, like, I'm not advocating this. I'm just saying, I think this is, if these protests fail, this is where we're going to go. And it has to be mentioned that this is a possibility, because most people just don't think about it. Oh, holy shit, that was stressful. I'm sure most of you fucking hated this video. That's fine. I'm gonna keep making more. So, peace.